So today, we're going to dig into something pretty fascinating, a 17-year journey in the stock market that ended up with a $3.7 million account. But this isn't just a success story. It's really about the real, hard cost of getting there.
Okay, let's just let that number sink in for a second. $3.7 million. That is the result of almost 2 decades of investing, of compounding. It's a huge number for sure. But you know what? That number is really only half the story.
Right, because getting to that number, it wasn't just about putting in money and waiting. It came with a serious and often really painful psychological cost.
Look, this isn't going to be one of those highlight reels you see online. This is an explainer about managing your mistakes, about the psychological tuition, and I love that word, that every single serious investor has to pay to get good at this.
All right, let's dive right into the messy stuff, the mistakes. And we're not talking about failures in the traditional sense. Think of it more like a rite of passage, a road of trials that everyone who plays the long game has to walk down.
And this is the central idea right here. Mistakes aren't just possible, they are absolutely guaranteed. Honestly, the biggest mistake you could possibly make is thinking you're the one person who's going to avoid them. Spoiler alert, you're not.
Okay, so what are we really talking about? It's one thing to say, oh, mistakes are inevitable, but what does that actually look like when it's your portfolio with your real money on the line?
This one's a classic. And man, is it a gut punch. You've got a great stock, it's up, but you sell it for a small profit because your heart's pounding, and then you have to just sit there and watch it go up another 500% without you. That is pure, uncut fear whispering in your ear, telling you to just take the money and run.
And then, of course, there's the other side of the coin. You get a little too confident, you chase some hot stock tip, and bam, you lose a massive chunk of your capital. That's greed talking, plain and simple, promising you the world but delivering a disaster. It's just as destructive as fear, if not more so.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because this slide just boils it all down so perfectly. When you look at these 2 classic, incredibly costly mistakes, they come from the 2 most powerful emotions in the entire market, fear and greed. One makes you hit the brakes way too soon, and the other makes you floor it right off a cliff.
So, okay, if you're surrounded by these emotional storms, how in the world do you survive? Well, it's not about being lucky. It's all about building, or maybe forging is a better word, the single most important tool an investor can have: emotional discipline.
And what is that exactly? What does it even mean? It's the ability to stick with your strategy when every single instinct in your body is screaming at you to do the exact opposite. It's about letting your plan, not your panic, and not your greed, make the final calls.
I love this slide because it shows you exactly how this is built. It's not magic. It's a process, a feedback loop. First, you make a mistake, it hurts. Then, you have to analyze the emotion. You actually write it down. Okay, why did I sell? I sold because I was terrified of losing the money I'd made. Then, you learn the lesson by creating a new rule. So my new rule is, I will not sell a winner unless the fundamental reason I bought it changes. And finally, you get back in the game, but this time with a much smarter plan. That's how you turn pain into real progress.
And that brings us to what might be the most powerful mindset shift in this whole explainer: how you reframe your losses.
Yeah, and you have to understand, this is not some unique, tragic story. This is everyone's story. Anyone who's had real long-term success in the market has paid this price. There are just no shortcuts, and there are absolutely no exceptions.
So what are we really talking about here, in dollars and cents? Over a couple of decades, what could this education cost? Let's just throw out a hypothetical number: $500,000. Whether that's from profits you missed out on or from capital you straight up lost, the total financial hit from learning these lessons can be absolutely staggering.
But here is the crucial reframe. This is everything. You can look at that number as a $500,000 loss, or you can see it for what it truly is. It's not a loss if you actually learn from it. No, it's your tuition. It's the price you paid for an education you literally can't buy in any business school on earth.
So when you boil it all down, what are we left with? It's really 2 simple, powerful ideas. First, mistakes are not failures, they're just data. And second, those mistakes, they are the non-negotiable price of admission for anyone who wants to win in the long run.
And that really leaves us with one final big question that I want you to think about. We all have to pay to learn in this game, so the only real question is, what kind of tuition are you willing to pay for your own market education?